In this video, we're going to go over how to thread the sewing machine. And for threading the machine, we have to do two things. You have to thread the top of the machine and the bottom of our machine. So thread both before you're done. Remember that once you do the top, there's still the bottom to do. So don't stop with just the top. We need both the top and bottom threads to make our sewing machine work. I'm going to start with my thread, and I just have a spool of thread. I am going to take it so that this thread is coming off the back of my spool. This would be the front, that's the back. And then I'm going to take my spool pin over here. Yours might be flipped down, and all you have to do is kind of swing it up and you'll find that spool pin. I will put it on my spool pin, and that's my first step. Next, there is a hook over here, and if I kind of tilt this forward, you can see it really sticks off. That's something else, but you can see it kind of sticks off the back here. And I'm going to get my thread caught on the hook right here. So I'm going to pull up so it gets caught in that hook, and now you can see that it's kind of sticking in there, and that creates a turning point for my thread. Moving on, I'm going to follow some arrows now. So this arrow I'm going to disregard, that's for winding my bobbin, but I will follow this arrow here, and I'm just going to go straight along next to it. After following my arrow right up here and going right along the right side of my thread to take up lever guard, I'm going to follow this next arrow that tells me to go up around. So I'm going to go up around on the left side of the thread take up guard. When I get to this next step, I need to make sure that my thread take up lever, this piece right here that you'll see as I turn my hand wheel, I'm taking my right hand over here and it's turning my hand wheel towards me, and that's moving my thread take up lever. I want to make sure that's in the very highest position. So right there is my highest position, and it goes down, and now it's up in the highest position again. So as I go up around the left side of my thread take up guard, I want to make sure I'm catching that thread take up lever. It needs to be in that highest position, and you'll see right here, you can kind of see it, there's an arrow right here. You tilt this, and it tells me to go, oh, 1 second, let me focus. It tells me to go on the right side and then around back on the left side. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, and you'll see as I do that, so I'm going to go in, around, and out. You'll see as I do that, I kind of get everything. My thread is caught now in that thread take up lever. So I just went up, around, and then down so that my thread is now in that thread take up lever. And then I'll go down again on the left side of my thread take up guard. After going down the left side of my thread take up guard, I am going to prepare to thread my needle. But there's two more things I need to do before threading my needle. And those are, first go behind this guard, and then second, go behind this second thread guard. So there's two thread guards. So this one I go in on the right side, there's an opening there, and I just pull it in on the right side. My thread is caught in here. And then I'm gonna go, this next one is just like a little teeny wire, it's just an arc. And I'm going to go on the left side of that and pull it through, and then my thread is caught. Last thing I need to do is thread my needle, and sometimes when my thread is kind of frayed, you can kind of see mine's pretty frayed there. The best thing to do is to just trim your thread. So I will grab a pair of scissors, and I'm just going to trim that thread really quick, and then I'll take my thread and put it through the eye of the needle. There's just a little teeny hole at the bottom of my needle. Right here, you can see I'm kind of going through there, and you can pull that through here. Then I'm gonna lift up my presser foot. Yours can be up or down when you thread the needle. And there is, just on the side of my my presser foot, there's a little slit. I wish I could show you with something like this. Here we go. There's a slit right here, and that's where I'm going to put my thread. So I'll put my thread right through there, and then my thread, you can see, is right between my presser foot and my stitch plate and feed dogs. So it's in between those, and that's where my fabric is going to go. So that's where I want my thread. After threading the top of my machine, I need to go ahead and thread the bottom part of my machine. It'll eventually all go in here. This is where my bobbin case and my bobbin will go. But first, I want to just take a look at the bobbin and bobbin case and get a little more familiar with them. So here I have the bobbin case. This is what it looks like on this side. On the back, this side right here, we have the finger that points up always. And then there is a little lever that you use to remove your bobbin case from the machine. So I were to put this in my machine right here. And I push it until it clicks. It's kind of hard to get out, but if I use my little tab here, I can easily slide that out. So that's what that tab is for, and that's what the back of our bobbin case looks like. The other side has kind of an empty donut shape here, and this is where my bobbin will eventually go. So it kind of houses that bobbin there, you can see, and then I can dump my bobbin out. On this side, it's just smooth, and on the other side, the right side of my bobbin, there's a few things going on here that I want to talk about. So first thing is there is this little slit right here. Oh, let me see if I can get focus. Yes, there's a little slit right here where the tip of my needle is. And then there is a screw. There is a metal plate that leads up to a popsicle shaped hole right by the finger at the very top of my bobbin case. So those are all things we're going to be using in a second. That's my bobbin case. Over here I have my bobbin. It's just a little mini spool of thread. And when I thread it into my bobbin case, I want it to look like a 9. When I say that, I mean I want a circle with a stick on the right side. So you can see circle with a stick on the right side. If I flip it the other way, then it would be a P, not a 9. I want it to be a 9. And if you're having a hard time remembering the 9, you can always just look at our stitch selection buttons and say, what's the highest number on here? It's a 9, and that's what I want my bobbin to be. So that's one way to remember that. And we'll go back to our bobbin here. So this is a 9. You can kind of see, I know it kind of goes out of focus sometimes, but it's a circle with a stick on the right side. And then I have my empty donut. I'm going to put the 9 inside my empty donut. And that's the first step. Then I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to pinch my bobbin into my bobbin case, because otherwise when I pull my thread, it's going to spin. And right now I don't want it to spin. So I'm going to hold those together. So if I pull my thread, it's not going to spin. Next, I'm going to find that slit on the side of my bobbin case, and I'll put my thread right through their slit so you can kind of see it moving back and forth in the slit. Then it will come up along that metal plate until it gets into the popsicle stick, and you really have to pull it. You're going to feel some resistance, and you're going to pull it up until it gets in that popsicle shaped hole at the top of your bobbin case. Then you're going to pull the thread so it's kind of off to the side of the finger. You'll keep the finger pointing up to the sky. You always want it pointing up to the sky. And you're going to push it into your machine in that empty cavity there. And I'm going to push it until it clicks. So again, if it's not clicked into place, if I pull this out a little bit so it's not clicked into place, this could spin around, and that's not what I want. I want this bobbin case to always be pointing with this finger up to the sky, and you'll kind of see there's a spot for that finger right there. So I push it until it clicks, and then it's in place. And now when I move my hand needle towards me, you can see everything spinning around it, but the bobbin case is staying in place. And you can even see my top thread going around and trying to catch that thread, or that bottom thread. Which brings me to my last step of threading the needle. So I'm going to take my top thread up here. So I'll turn it till my top thread comes up. So I'm going to hold with my left hand my top thread, and I'm going to pull it tight. With my right hand, I'm going to turn my hand wheel towards me with my thumb on top coming towards me, and you'll kind of see what happens. That top thread kind of loops around and it catches the bottom thread, and then it will pull the bottom thread up so that there's a loop of the bottom thread right here. Sometimes it's like a little teeny loop, and you need like a pin or something to just grab it, and I'm just going to put my pin in through that loop and pull it towards me, and that will pull my bottom thread up to the top. And now I have both my top and bottom threads just sandwiched right between my presser foot and my stitch plate. That's exactly where I want them to be. Then the last thing I'm going to do is take these two threads, and I'm going to pull them back behind, because anytime I sew, I want those back behind so they don't get tangled up in what I'm sewing. Otherwise, I can create knots and other things. But I have finished threading my machine. It's always a good idea to practice on a scrap piece of fabric, because if you didn't do it right, you don't want to ruin your project. And if things aren't threading or sewing right after you've threaded the machine, most likely it's because of a threading problem. So we just need to rethread the machine and try again, and hopefully it works the next time.